talk a little bit about the sponsor of all the workshops, which is Seton Hall Data Services. They provide a lot of services for student, faculty, and staff that has to do with data analysis, research consultations, and managing your data. You can reach out to them through their official website that you can access through the main library page. You can also request consultations or a class or workshop to your students. They support so many softwares like SPSS, DataR, Atlas TI, Tableau, and Qualtrics. So I want to highlight a speaker series that's going to happen this month. If you have time, check them out. So to begin, why Tableau? So the main concept of Tableau is interactive visualization. It's accessible. It has a lot of features that support accessible visualizations like color plines and other features. It's flexible and it's intuitive because they have some tools that can help people with minimum experience with visualization. Also, they have this feature of dragging variable into the field of visualization, and you can have clue how to visualize your data based on the type of data that you have. So many companies use Tableau for their visualization, do Walmart, TripAdvisor, and even Chipotle. And I want to highlight for graduate students, like you don't have to use Tableau to present your visualization. Tableau sometimes can help you figure out what your research questions, and it's a nice tool. Like I used it for personal research where I just plot my data and I see how is it in the dashboard, and sometimes I figure out questions that I never knew that I have about my data. So it's a nice tool for a graduate student to investigate their data and to investigate more research questions. So there's two versions, the public and the paid one. And this is some of the features that the public one has. You can import your data only in few file format, and there is a minimum number of data that you can upload, which is 15 million. I think it's enough. And it's not recommended for sensitive data because you cannot import the project unless you publish it online, and in that case you will expose your participant to the public. So if you have sensitive data, would recommend you either remove the identifiers or you use other alternative to Tableau. So this is the interface of Tableau, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the features in the interface. So from here you can upload your data. Then once you upload the data, you will have this is a smart tool from Tableau. They will categorize the data based on the type. So they have dimensions and measures. In another word, categorical data and numeric data. And which is nice about Tableau, it's color-coded the data. So we have the categorical data colored in blue. In that sense, if you see a blue color in a numeric data, you know, like, oh my God, this is categorical, but it's, sorry, this is numeric, but it's read into Tableau as categorical. So you can avoid that type of mistake. So blue and greens for different type of data. And also you can do some of the analysis in your variables, like you can calculate the standard deviation if you want, you can calculate means, percentage, and stuff like that. So this is the interface of a new project. So you would have the axis, the Y and X in 1 and 2, and you have pages and filters. So pages break the view into pages, like for example, if you're looking into certain growth for every year, you can break it using the pages. And also the filter, you can filter by, for example, gender or level of education. Then here at 6, we can see the visualization that we have. And now we can go and practice on Tableau. Before that, I want to highlight that I simulated a fake data set for the purpose of this course, and I would like to share the data if anyone want to practice some of the technique in Tableau. So I'm gonna copy paste the data set, and as I mentioned, it's this data does not exist, it's fake.
Seema, just so you know, right now we don't see a shared screen.
Oh, okay. My bad, sorry.
No problem.
So this is the data set, and this is the screen. Okay. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to load the data set, and it's in text
Perfect.
file.
We can see it.
So again, as I mentioned, this is a fake data set, and it's about a group that I dream about, which is women in research. Maybe the group exists, I don't know. But women in research, they support women in research, and by providing so many consultations. So we have type of support, which is consultations, workshops, and they support research, whether qualitative or quantitative, and they support women across the country, and also they're open for other gender. So they're not totally exclusive for women, even though the purpose of this group is for women. So we have the year, the race, education level, age, and whether they like the support that provided by this group, and type of support, research, gender, location, and donation for people who want to support the group. Let me see if someone has a question. Sorry.
That's okay. I can help you with that.
Okay, perfect.
Jay Leibowitz said that there's a Women in Data Science conference at Penn in February. Just
amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, I heard about women in data, but I just imagine like research in general, because there's a lot of support groups out there in some of the software, which is amazing. So again, this is fake data set. It does not exist. So first, I'm gonna create like quick visualization that we can drag in the dashboard. So if you click on the location, you can see that even though it's a location, it's a state, but somehow Tableau read it as categorical. So we need to correct this information. We can click here, and we can say geographic rules, and we can tell Tableau that this is a state. And we can see automatically it generated the latitude and longitude for the location, and the symbol in front of the variable change. Also, another thing, year, we see that Tableau didn't recognize that this is a time variable. So I would do the same thing. I would just go to change data type, and I will tell Tableau that this is a date. So if I double click on location, I can see that I have the map, but it doesn't tell me anything. It just dots off the state because I did not specify what type of measure that I want in in my visualization. So in this case, I want to know the count, but I want it, for example, in color. Now I have this nice visualization stating that the darkest color, the state that has the highest support for the group. So maybe I want to know the state, the name of the state. I can also drag the location to label. In that case, it will show me the name of the state. Let me just drag it here. So if I want to know the number of support in each state by gender, I can drag gender to pages here. And we can see here, I can move from female and male, and I can see the numbers. And I also, if I want to drag the number of support to the text, I can see the number here. So for example, right now the pages is on male. I have 600 in California and all of them male. So if I change to female, I will have the numbers updated into the visualization. So this is like a quick one. Now we're gonna do another visualization, and all of these depends on your taste. So I'm gonna do race here. And one of the nice thing in Tableau, it gives you clues. So it will tell you like if this is a table. So for example, I can drag the number here into text, so I can get the actual number. And I want it by color. So the same thing, I get the darkest for the highest. And if you click Shift and Control and B, it will get a little bit bigger. And I can change the color from here. Let's say I want it purple. So now we move to another visualization. As I mentioned that you can do this type of visualization, depends on your taste and preference, the colors and the shape. I'm just creating like some of the visualizations so we can drag them to the dashboard. So I want the number of research. So I drag it to the column here. And I drag the count to the text. And I do the same thing, Shift, Control, and B to make it a little bit bigger. I do the same thing with another worksheet because I want also the type of support. Drag the type of support to column. Drag the count to text. Do the same thing, Shift, Control, and B. And now I want to do the education level. So I want to do something a little bit colorful. I can drag education to, what is education? Yeah, to color. And I can also drag the count to color too. Then I can drag education to text. Okay, then I choose that I want the packed bubbles. So I can see that I have a nice visualization of educational level, and when I hover over the circles, I can see the number of the people in that specific level of education. So also I can do the count because I want it to show, like right now I have to go through every circle. I can click on the count, and I can drag it also in the text. And now I don't have to hover over every circle because I drag it to the text. So every time you want a count to show, you drag it to the text. You want it by color, you drag it to the color. You want it by size, you drag it to the size. So right now, like almost we don't have, we have somehow equal distribution across education. So now we're gonna do another visualization, which I wanna do gender simple, like do the same thing, add column and add the count to text and make it a little bit bigger. And sometimes if you mess up the sizes between tables, that's fine, because there is a trick here. You can copy formats. Like I can copy this format here, and I can go back to the other sheets and I can do paste formats, and it will be equal to the format of the other sheets. And so you can also name it from here. Sheets 5, 6, you can just click and do rename. But in this case, I really don't care about the name because I'm not going to include them in my dashboards, but that's how you change names. So let's play a little bit with the dashboard. Now we have like somehow basic visualization. So the purpose of this workshop is just to show you a technique. So I would click on the dashboard. And the first thing I want to do is change the size. I want it automatic, so it will fit whatever visualization that I drag. And one really cool thing that I really liked about Tableau is the containers. So we have here in the object side, we have either vertical or horizontal containers. This, instead of just dragging sheets into your dashboard, you can drag them in a specific container. You can choose the format of this container. So if I want the vertical one and I want it to be for the title, I can drag it here, and I would drag the race, and you want it floating, so you can drag it here. And I want to drag the maps, and I would do the same thing. I want it floating. And we had the level of education. The same thing, I would want it floating too. So you can organize the worksheet based on your preference, and you can do the view here. Like we can see, it's a little bit squeezed to the right. We want to change the view to entire view, and we would do the same thing with the race. You can either do it from the top, from here, or you can do it also from here. Fit and entire view. So I want this a little bit here. I can hide this legend because I don't like it showing in my dashboard. Gender, sorry, I dragged the wrong one. We can move So I would do this here. I want to hide the title. As I mentioned, that title did not mean anything to me in this visualization, so I would hide it. And what I really liked about Tableau is the filter feature, which is right now. I'm going to do it. So you see this small icon here used as a filter. So I can click on it, and I'll do the same thing for every sheet. So what does that mean? So for example, if I clicked on race, only Asian, the number will update across the visualization through the visualization that I used as a filter. So for example, if I clicked here in Asian, I can see only 13 Asian in Oregon and only 21 in Washington and 2 in Montana. The same thing, if I click on Hispanic, the number will update automatically in every visualization that I set to use as then we set the type of research. I'm gonna add it in a container, do the same thing, change the fit to the entire view, and hide the title because I don't want it to show. And do the same thing with gender. Do the same thing with type of support. I can drag and it will do the same thing with the title. Use it as a filter. This number disappeared on me. So I just want to drag it, but for some reason it's just so hard to drag it right now to the top. Okay, let me change the type to floating so I can, perfect. So if I use this as a filter, I can click on quantitative and it will show me the only people who use quantitative methods in the map, and also in the other visualization. So for example, I want to see what number of people use quantitative method in New Mexico. I can see only 6 people use quantitative methods, and I want to see the number of people use qualitative methods. I can see only 3 people in New Mexico. And this feature that I was telling you about is the feature that help you develop some of the questions that you did not even have before. So maybe like as a researcher, what is in California that makes the number of researchers higher than other states? What is in Mexico that makes the researchers lower than other states? So that type of questions, as a researcher, you will develop once you play a little bit with the data. So another thing that I liked about Tableau is that you can have different view. You can have the default, which is usually desktop. You can choose phone, and it will show you how is your visualization would look in the phone. And also, not only this, you can choose the device. So for example, you can choose phone or tablet. And if you used phone, it will give you another options, like if your phone is iPhone or Samsung Galaxy and stuff like that, which is a nice, cool feature to have. And I guess that's it. Is there any questions? Since I actually underestimate the time that we're going to take, so since we have time, do you want to go through like some of other features that Tableau has?
I do have a question if you don't mind.
Sorry?
I do have one question if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
So I was thinking, like yesterday we had the Power IB session. So could you just go into a few of the advantages and disadvantages of each and how we can pick which one to work with? Because they seem somewhat similar.
Yes, they're actually similar. And I would think the main criteria of what to use is what's cheaper for you or what is more accessible, because some of the school offer license to specific software. And if you have, if your school offer license in Power BI, I would go with it because, again, Tableau is good, but the main problem is that you have to publish your data, which is a huge hiccups for so many researchers. So that's one of the disadvantages of Tableau.
Okay. So, yeah, there's a free version of Tableau. Students can get it for free. Greg, could you maybe tell us about your experience working with Tableau with your students?
Yeah, sure. So Tableau can be a complicated tool for students to kind of pick up on. But if you, and I'll actually be talking about this a little bit at my session at 2 o'clock, but if you sequence out the assignment enough, and you give them sort of, you set up like a sandbox for them with data that you help them find, it can really, really help with sort of the writing assignment process. I'm assuming a lot of us teach papers. So it's a really kind of great addition to that because you're teaching them the research process, right? And how to kind of keep track of that. I've had a lot of success. Students are really nervous about Tableau at first, because it can be, sometimes you do something and it can be unpredictable with what's going to come out if you're not familiar with it. But once they get the hang of it, they get better at it than I am rather quickly. So I would recommend, trying to work it into a syllabus.
Okay, and what about for administrative purposes? We have at least 3 people from advancement on the call, which is fantastic. What about that type of usage?
Yeah, sure. Well, so the good news is that Tableau has a ton of ways to learn it out there. So we actually, we have access to LinkedIn Learning. There's a ton of LinkedIn Learning courses that people can use. I think it would definitely be useful for analyzing any of the data that they have. Building it into presentations is kind of where I think Tableau shines.
Okay.
And it's pretty intuitive once you get used to it. It might seem overwhelming at first, but I would definitely recommend giving it a shot.
Okay. And Chelsea, can I ask you to give the advancement folks a 30-second overview of Power BI? And I know, Louisa, thank you, put in a link where to get that from Shu. We do have licenses.
Sure, yeah, I can do that for you. So I covered this also in my presentation yesterday, but Microsoft Power BI is part of the Microsoft suite. So one of the advantages there is that it's very intuitive, where you have the same type of ribbon and you kind of intuitively know how to move. A lot of the features in Tableau you will see in Power BI in a different way. The visualizations will be different. because they're geared more toward business decisions. So for university advancement, I think Tableau or Power BI may work depending on the type of project that you're doing. But there's a lot of great functionality in both, and you can take massive amounts of data and get a story within seconds. And it's really fun to use, but it's also very useful. So we can offer workshops if you want. We can have like a session with you if you need to, or if you have any specific questions when you play around. But I think both are excellent tools, and the fact that you get Power BI Pro free with the university is something that you may want to look into as well.
Okay. And Chelsea, do you mind putting that link in the chat for us?
The link to what?
Sorry, the Power BI Pro.
Oh, sure.
Thank you. And we had a question, if you can use, in Tableau Desktop, can you use that over the network here? Which I think we can, we can for both, right?
Is that question for me, Lisa?
Sure, yes. Thank you.
So what is the question again?
Can just using Tableau Public over the network at Seton Hall.
I'm not sure, like, what do you mean by the network?
I was asking if the data sources for Tableau Desktop can be a computer different than the machine running the actual Tableau application. So could I have a data source that's on a network drive or just non-local?
So I know the paid version, you can connect your Tableau to a server, but to be honest, I haven't tried it because I used only the public version. And I used it only, as I mentioned, for my research, just to visualize some of the stuff and see what's going on with the data.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you could, we could do an appointment and help you figure that out. Okay.
And just to add to that, Power BI has the ability to pull from servers as well.
Yeah, great. I mean, they're both great tools. It really kind of seems like Coke or Pepsi in a way as I'm learning more about them, because you know, if somebody in your department maybe has some experience with one, maybe you start with that, but definitely you can come make a data services appointment and we can help you, you know, decide which might be better. Yeah, so if Seema, do you want to go ahead now? You were gonna continue, and then maybe we'll have a few more questions.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So one of the features that as I mentioned, that you can use by Tableau, and it's an advantage of using Tableau, like usually with other type of visualizations, like if we're visualizing data with R, you kind of have to make the graph a little bit complex. And if you attended the ggplot, we can plot so many variables into one plot, and in order to understand what's going on. But with the dashboard, all what you have to do is just click. Like, for example, in this visualization, if I'm trying to visualize the race and years, I can use like other type of visualization, not the table. But with Tableau dashboard is so simple. So you can know the differences between level of education. Like, I want to know people who have some colleges, and all I have to do is just click on it, and the number will update itself in every visualization. So I can see that quantitative people who had some colleges, they got support in their qualitative research by 600 and 500 for quantitative research. And I can see that the spread of those people, the distribution of those people across the state without having to make a complex a graph. Like if you notice, every graph here by itself has at least has one variable, like no other than mixed variables. Like for example, in R, we plot categorical variables with numeric variable in the same graph. Sometimes a graph has 4 and 5 variables, but in Tableau we don't have to go through this hustle and to figure out what's going on with the data. This is all solved by the dashboard. And another thing that I liked, if you're doing a presentation for your department or your unit, you can actually insert image or a logo for that organization. That's a nice way to visualize it. And if you drag it to whatever empty space, in this case we don't have any space in the dashboard, even if I close this, but you can drag the image container, and you can load whatever pictures that you have into the dashboard. This is a nice tool for visualization. And another feature that we're not supposed to talk about today, but I want to just mention it. You can present your graph with the feature of the story. You can drag them the same way we did with the dashboard, and you will have the navigators on the top, and you can have a nice presentation, and you can actually export it as a PowerPoint and a PDF. And with Tableau, another feature that I truly liked is that you don't have to figure out the data measurement level, because as I mentioned before, Tableau is so smart to figure out what type of data. So like if you have a student who's struggling with the data level, Tableau will solve this problem for them. They don't have to go and dig deep into what type of measurement this variable is measured. So they have the categorical and numerical differentiation of your data. Is there any questions so far?
There's a question in the chat. They're asking you if in Power BI, do you know if you can click through to see more detail on the data that you visualize the same way we do with Tableau? I think we can, right?
Yeah, I think maybe Chelsea would know better because she used Power BI a lot, and I learned from her, to be honest. I attended her workshop.
I was actually typing the response, but Tara, if it's okay, I'll just say it out loud. So when you are in Power BI, they do have a feature that you can actually see the data that's being imported into the system, but you also can choose the data that you choose to visualize. So if you have maybe certain fields and maybe you don't want to visualize certain fields, you can choose which ones will be visualized. So you always see at every point what data you're visualizing, and it's interactive, so you'll also see what the Power BI tool is looking at. So at all times, Power BI is pretty much showing you what data you're using, how it's being used. And of course, when you publish it on the web interface, because we have the Pro account, it's private. So that is only going to be shared with who you choose to grant access to. I hope that answers your question, Tara.
Chelsea, what about drill downs on the data that's already being visualized in Power BI? I mean, can you do things like what was demonstrated here, where you have filters enabled and you can click a subset and then the other visualizations will filter in kind?
Absolutely.
Mouse overs with hover overs with windows that fly out, and those sorts of things.
Yes, there's the functionality is not necessarily the same. Like I said, the visualizations will be more toward business, but it's pretty much the same. Like if you click on maybe a race, then all of the data will reflect that specific race.
Okay.
And it's if you share what's called the dashboard, which is what you pretty much are creating here, but it's published on the web. When you share that, people can click in and see that as well.
Excellent. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm sorry this is turning into Power BI, Seema. I'm so sorry.
No, actually, that's great because, like, I think people need to know the difference between both of them. And since we have it through Seton Hall, I think I'm gonna convert to Power BI because it's free.
Don't convert. It's both of them have their advantages and disadvantages. So it's really whatever works best, like you said earlier.
I just remember like one of the features about the maps as we saw that we have two type of map, the simple map, which is this one, and the fill map that we had previous. This, even though this is nice tool that we can look into the count based on the size of the circle, but we have to pay attention to this, that this will not work if the data has negative numbers. It will not represent the data in a nice way, so we have to add it to the color. So that's one of the, I won't say flaw, but I would say like people have to be careful when they use this symbol maps. Personally, I prefer the fill map, but this one looks so amazing. Like you just look at the size and it's more intuitive than the fill map. But one disadvantage of the simple map is that it's get a little bit confusing if you have negative numbers in your data. And this is apply a lot, I think, to the Tableau students because sometimes they have to measure and calculate the growth in certain countries, and sometimes the level of growth can be negative if a certain country did not grow as other countries, or there is a decreases in, for example, death or birth or whatever. There is specific data that has a lot of negative values to it. So I think it would be nice to pay attention to these differences. Any other questions?
I have, this is Jay Leibowitz. Hey, Chelsea and Sama, thanks so much. So Chelsea, you mentioned that Power BI and Tableau have their disadvantages as well. Could you just highlight what the disadvantages of each software might be, particularly for student usage?
Okay, so for Tableau, I would say the biggest disadvantage, and Seema already touched on this, but if you have data, it is published publicly with the free version. So people do prefer to share their data privately, so that may be a disadvantage. The disadvantage for Power BI is a lot of the visualizations are geared more toward business. So Tableau has more general visualizations that may appeal to certain presentations and things like that. So if they could combine together, that'd be beautiful, but that's not going to happen. But they're continuing to update Power BI and Tableau every year. So the functionality may get better, but those are some of the disadvantages right now.
Great, thanks so much.
Of course.
Yeah.
I am muted. Seema, thank you so much for the overview. And Chelsea, thank you for the Power BI information. And thank you to all the attendees. We have two more, let's see, we have two sessions at 2 o'clock today. One is Professor Iannarella is going to talk about usage of data visualization tools in his courses. That's going to be great. And then the other program is from our archives and special collections, talking about statistics of Latino students in the late 1800s at Seton Hall. So you can go to library.chu.edu and grab the schedule. All right, thank you so much. Jeffrey, thank you. Sarah. So great. You all came. Oh,
Thank you,
yes.
Seema.
Thank you for coming. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.